Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Bill Campbell and I'm an SNP Councillor. This is my ward along with Varys. Vary also is an SNP Councillor, wherever Vary is, at the end of the room. Both of us cover Rosango. I'd like to thank Jimmy for inviting me along to speak this afternoon. This is a more of a personal view than trying to inspire you, just to give you my own personal thoughts on the situation as I see it. I have a background in sales and marketing for over 30 years, and I have been pushing very, very strongly to get the Yes paper out. I used to work in one of the professional football clubs in Dundee, and when I left there, about 6 months after that, we started up the SNP's official magazine. It didn't have one, we launched it, because there are so few publications out there that tell you about the SNP. I've kept a 6-page Sunday Herald from about 2 weeks ago, which I hadn't seen anything as good in the newspapers ever. It was fantastic, and I was still in the back of my car. But by and large, you can't get much in the media about what we are doing. And so we brought the magazine out, but it's got a very, very limited readership. And so we went on to push for a paper, and eventually the Yes paper has come out. And I just want to stress how vital I think it is that Yes paper gets to every single household in Scotland without fail. There's going to be quite a few of them before we come up to the referendum on the 18th of September, and that, along with the websites, there's a plethora of websites out there that probably most of you go to, and I kind of don't buy papers anymore. I'll go to the various websites from Bella Caledonia, Wings Over Scotland, Newsnet, there's a whole lot. I was very pleased when I spoke to colleagues up in Oban who'd put out a flyer around about the whole area, which listed about 20 websites to go to for people, and that's the kind of thing I'd like to see. So in terms of communications, from a personal point of view, I think it's absolutely vital that we play this very, very cleverly and we get to absolutely everybody in Scotland with that Yes paper, we deliver it, and we also push the websites. I always tell everybody I see about the various websites. Most people I know haven't a clue about these websites in existence, and they make a difference to the information that you get, plus blogs. If we can get the blog marketed, if you let me know, we'll get it into the magazine. The second personal point I want to make is about Faslane. The home, as the website called it, the home of Britain's strategic nuclear deterrent in the form of nuclear submarines armed with Trident missiles and based, most importantly, just 25 miles northwest of the city of Glasgow. I grew up in Paisley from the age of 3 until I moved to Dundee in 1996. So I lived 36 years in Paisley, just outside Glasgow. And my wife and I also stayed in Glasgow and in Erskine, just outside Paisley. And all of these places have one thing in common. All are not very far geographically away from the nuclear submarine base at Faslane. What I personally still find it hard to come to terms with is that I spent most of my life there, also as an adult, not even thinking about how near I was to such a place. Nobody spoke with me about it. Nobody explained it to me. I don't ever recall getting a government health and safety warning that this was close by. But once the penny dropped, I became very concerned. I wondered what the fallout area would be in the event of something nuclear happening, what the area of radiation would be. Should we have tablets at home to counter radiation poisoning? I mean, we're only 25-30 miles away. I began to think, why is there no information given to me by my government to help my family in the event of an attack or an accident? And you may think it's so unlikely that would never happen. But honestly, you just need to look at what's happening in Ukraine just now. I know nothing's going to happen with that just now, but it just shows you what could happen. And they have planked that base 30 miles, 25 miles from the largest conurbation in the country. It's absolutely obscene when you think about it. I wonder what the risk assessment was in positioning such a facility next to Scotland's largest conurbation. What mindset was at play basing this nuclear facility so close to many homes of so many Scots? I personally don't think we actually make enough of this. I really don't. If I was bringing out the next issue of the Yes paper, I'd have a map there with Faslane, and I'd have the wee circles going round with the various areas of what happens the further out you get. And I think we would win a huge amount of votes if we did that in the west of Scotland, because believe me, you go through your whole life not thinking about it. I remember, I'm sure I'm right, when we moved to Dundee in 1996, I used to see things up on the lamppost that said Dundee was a non-nuclear area. I felt quite relieved moving here. I don't know how you were doing it, but I thought it was a good thing. I think that's a real vote winner. I think the No campaign and the media have managed to make so much of the vote about economics. And for me personally, the economics is a no-brainer. It's about two different things. One, it's about getting rid of nuclear weapons out of Scotland's soil. And secondly, it's about the feeling of disenfranchisement. Got that out. The economics for me is a no-brainer. Across the North Sea, and you've heard Alex Salmon and others say this all the time, is a country with a population some 500,000 less than Scotland, much the same kind of country, sharing the same oil and gas reserves. Norway has become hugely wealthy, while we in Scotland have become unacceptable in levels of poverty, food banks, an austerity programme that includes, in my opinion, the ill-conceived bedroom tax, and there's a lot of austerity round the corner if we don't gain independence. You know that, we all know that. And I believe the UK carries a huge debt burden, over £1 trillion. Contrast and compare with Norway, where would we be? It's just unbelievable. There's at least 40 years of oil and gas remaining, and this doesn't even take into account the potential for the resources which probably have been played down off the west coast of Scotland. I believe they're looking at that. We have the potential to become a net exporter of power from renewables. We have huge fishing grounds around our extensive coastline. We have substantial industry, including whisky, tourism, biotechnology, financials, food, etc. And I kept financials in there. It's a no-brainer. I'm not surprised that in devolution we did not get the welfare and we didn't get the ability to raise all our tax and distribute it. Because see, if we had that just now, when I'm speaking to people, they just worry about how they're going to get their pensions, how it will actually happen. If we were doing that just now, and it's already been said, we're already independent in education, we're already independent in National Health Service, we're independent in so many ways. If we were independent in the same way devolved, with the welfare and paying pensions and paying benefits and collecting and distributing and using the tax, so many people wouldn't be remotely worried. It's that step that allows you to carry out these. Now we know that will happen, but people who are not as interested as us really worry about these things, and I think that's why they weren't devolved. I think they were thinking ahead. I mean, the bottom line is, which country has so much reserves in oil and gas and ends up poorer for it? It's just unbelievable. As I said, economics, vital as they are not the most important factor for me wanting 100% to run our own nation. I believe the economy will be strong. I don't think that's an issue. What I want is the nuclear weapons out of Scotland. That is the most important thing. You know, life and death, that's more important than economic. We need to get them out of this country. We don't want the spectre of a nuclear base permanently hanging over our country, and it will be if we vote no. So what else is more important to me than economics? Well, I believe I have been essentially disenfranchised since birth. And if we don't gain independence now, I believe I'll die disenfranchised. Cameron and the others were recently talking about the family in the UK, speaking from a distance. He love-bombed us, as Nicola said, only to have the Chancellor come up here a few days later and tell us that we wouldn't be able to share in a currency union. Now this is a grossly imbalanced union, the UK. What family is Cameron talking about? I asked myself, is it the UK family of the four nations? Well, of course it is. So in terms of voting per capita, one has just under 3% of the vote, one has just under 5%, Scotland has around 8.4%, and the other nations has just under 84%. Clearly it is no union of equal partners. Now this manifests itself in a huge array of aspects of everyday life, and I could list them for hours, and I'm not going to. It's just unbelievable. Needless to say, I'm on blood pressure medication because I watch too much TV. And that's true, that's true. Surely the pound is every bit as much Scotland's as it is any other nation in the UK. I'm sorry. It's not Osborne's to do what he likes with. As a guest said recently in Scotland Today on STV, it was on Monday actually, the pound is common property. It's not theirs to take away. And while I'm on this topic, surely we have huge assets to share in the UK. Now, what these assets are, I'm not sure. I asked Stuart Hosey at a Broughty Ferry version of that question, and Stuart said he had a book of assets. So I don't know whether it's a page of Gibraltar and a page of the Falkland Islands or whatever. But I wouldn't be surprised if the assets of the UK outweigh the liabilities of the UK. I would not be surprised. So when we're negotiating, well, I'm sure we won't be losing out. Or is Osborne's speech really a reality check for us Scots and our situation in the Union? Are we really witnessing what is our tiny 8.4% share of the UK population? What does it mean? The way we are condescended to, lectured that we're not up to it? I speak to Scots who don't think we're capable of doing it. Where's that coming from? That could only be a result of brainwashing from birth. I don't get that at all. I just don't think, who on earth do these people from London think they're talking to? They're taking us for fools. They really are unbelievable. And I think this is a reality of a so-called equal partnership in the Union, the great family, as Cameron talks about it. If you're a partner, I think the truth is coming out each and every day more and more about our tiny place in the UK and what they really do think about us. Why not make it 25% Scotland, 25% England, 25% Wales and 25% Northern Ireland? You think they'd like that? Seems fairer to me. We're all meant to be four nations. Otherwise, I'm disenfranchised forever. We have no real power and always be outvoted no matter who we vote for. A Conservative government lording it over our own proud and ancient nation, and they have one MP in Scotland. They put so much money into London it's untrue. They're giving themselves a new train set, they're building high-speed rail, and we're not getting any of it. Where's that money coming from? This is what happens when you're politically impotent. I feel, why on earth do we have some sort of colonial governor? A Secretary of State for Scotland when we've got a Scottish devolved Parliament? There's also one for Wales, there's one for Northern Ireland. So there we are, two fundamental reasons from my own perspective, other than economics, for voting independence. Economics is a gimme. The two reasons I would give you are get rid of nuclear weapons, the obscenity of them from Scotland's shores and from our largest population centre, and the disenfranchisement that I believe we all suffer from. To me, it's not only about economics, it's about who you believe you are, your identity. I'm a Scottish nationalist, but I'm also an internationalist. I hate the way the flag, as if you're a nationalist and you can't be an internationalist. It's ridiculous. I do not consider myself to be British, though. Never have, never will. I want Scotland, I want to coexist with other nations, but what I emphatically do not want is to feel that my own nation is one of the few, if only on this planet, that is run de facto by a much bigger country. And that is really the truth of the matter. Let's not forget to compare this. When we had the banking crisis, the UK government lent the Republic of Ireland a lot of money to their banks. Yet look at how the same people are talking to us in the Union. Compare that and contrast it. Before I finish, I would just like to take this opportunity to briefly talk about the European Union. Here's a question I find interesting. Is it okay that a nation that had never been part of the European Union and was previously a communist state became part of the European Union in a very short period of time? That nation was East Germany, who competed in the Olympic Games. I saw Scotland beat them 2-0 at Hampden. That was an independent nation, if you like. And when you think of all the things that when they're talking to Turkey about what they had to go through to join the EU, and when you think how East Germany just flew into the European Union, it's very interesting. East Germany, and what was a new nation, if you like, called Germany, because it was West Germany, gets into the EU in a very short time frame. But the nation of Scotland, already a part of the EU, decides democratically, and without, as Alex Salmon says, so much as a nosebleed, wants to break away from the UK Union, and yet Scotland, with its people who have been EU citizens for over 40 years, is going to get expelled. I personally don't think so. I don't think that will happen. Another interesting one is Belgium. Belgium was split almost right down the middle and could not form a government for a number of years. Now, you know, obviously we have the European Union based there. Now, if one of these places decides to become independent, and when if anybody's been in the march, you'll have seen the flags from all the various areas, including there was some from Belgium area wanting to be part of that. Does anybody honestly think that part of Belgium is going to be thrown out the EU if it votes to become independent? Not in your nelly, it's never going to happen, it's ridiculous. Remember this as well, in 2015, Latvia and Luxembourg have the presidency of the EU, both much smaller populations than Scotland. Ireland's got a smaller population than we have. Denmark, Finland, Slovakia are almost identical in populations to us. There are many nations in Europe, both in and out of the EU, with populations around the size of ours. We are not some kind of freakishly small nation, incapable of running its own affairs. It's preposterous. We are more than capable of being an active member and a prosperous member and a caring member of the world community. Someone recently said, why would we want to stay in a union when we are treated with such contempt? The same person also said it should always have been a partnership of nations, a partnership of equals. To me personally, it has never felt so colonial as it does right now. It's there for all to see. It's there for all to see. Our place in the UK Union, equal partner in the Union, nowhere near it in my opinion, never has been, never will be. Thank you.